Welcome to Business Prowess with Raphael and Dr. Andrea. Our show will bring you the best insights, ideas, and inspiration from successful entrepreneurs and CEOs in the business world. Don't miss out on the opportunity to learn from the best and stay ahead of the game. Sifa Raphael is the founder of 5 unique shows. He's a fitness professional, solutions expert, executive coach, and head instructor at Max Martial Arts and Fitness in New York. Dr. Andrea Adams Miller is an award-winning international keynote speaker, best-selling author, and CEO of the Red Carpet Connection Publicity, Publishing, and Talent Agency, and CEO of IgniteYourRelationship.com. Known as the Dream Maker, she makes visionaries' dreams come true, bigger than they ever dare to desire.
Good morning. Happy Friday, everybody. I am super excited for today's show. I want to let you know Dr. Andrea is not here with us because she's out there changing the world, but she will be with us next week. I have a special guest joining us today. Let me go ahead and bring him on. Drew Sutton. Come on down, big guy. What's going on?
Hey, it's exciting to be on the show, man.
Happy Friday. Happy Friday. So
Happy Friday.
I am excited to have you on the show. I know that we are going to be talking business and what it means, right, to take the right step in business. And you help, we were talking earlier how you help people really get better with their business. Tell me a little bit about you before we even get into the whole deal.
Yeah. So my background is engineering. I was a mechanical engineer. I designed helicopters for years and years and years. I got 30 patents doing that. I was a chief engineer at Lockheed Martin. We did a whole bunch of stuff. Everything that you can do in engineering, I got a chance to do, and got to work with some really amazing people while I did it. I'm married for 18 years now to my wife Andrea, and then I have 4 kiddos. So I have 3 high schoolers and then one elementary school student. She's in 4th grade. So we call them the Bigs and Livy. So
very cool. Wow. So you have how many patents out there?
30. Yeah. I always wanted to be an inventor my whole life. I was like, oh, I want to be James Bond. I want to be Q from James Bond. And then I got to do that. I had an amazing mentor. And I remember the first day at work, it was when I started working at Bell. He came by the 3 of us that had just got hired, and he said, who wants to go for coffee? And then 2 of the other guys looked at him, and he was kind of, he wasn't in the greatest shape. He was a little bit older. He had gray hair. We were young. We all had dark hair at the time. And the 2 other guys were like, no, I have work to do. And something in my gut said, this is something special. Go get the coffee. And he and I started then a routine of getting coffee together twice a day, like in the morning and then sometime around 2:00. Mm-hmm. And we talked about all sorts of things. We talked about life. We talked about relationships. And he taught me all sorts of amazing things about helicopters that nobody else got to hear. Mm-hmm. And so all of my patent work kind of comes out of that relationship where I would be stuck on something, or he would challenge me with something, and then we get to work on it together. And so the reason I'm kind of belaboring this point is finding a good mentor and having coffee with them is an investment that you will never regret. So yeah, all of my success is really attributed to Brad. He was a great guy.
I love that you brought this forth, because a lot of people don't realize or see the opportunity, because he's an older man. What's he going to, I don't have time for him. But when we take time to even if that first coffee would have been like, he didn't talk anything except he talked about his wife or how miserable he is, you may not have gone to those many coffee meetings, right? But I'm sure that first meeting made you say, hey, there's something here. I want to keep going for it. And a lot of people miss that opportunity, like the other 2 gentlemen who just didn't see the vision or didn't give him the chance to show his brilliance, right?
Yeah. And he was a little gruff. I think that you talk about multi-generational work. He was a little coarse because he was definitely from that boomer generation. But I kind of connected with that. And because I was able to see through some of the coarseness that other folks were turned off by, I got to really enjoy, and he got to really pour into my life. And so now I'm not saying that you should put up with, a bad boss or a bad mentor, but listening into what people really have to give is a super important skill.
I love it. Wow, that's brilliant. And you got 30 patents out of it because of this one time that you said yes, right? You never know
Yes.
what yes can turn out in your life, right?
Yeah. And when we live in a world, especially me as an engineer, in a world of analytics, and we live, is that a wise decision? Like, what did the YouTubers say? We live in this world of formulas, like, follow the dots. But your gut, I've never regretted going with my gut. Now, occasionally my gut's got me in trouble, but it was always a good story. And the times that I've not gone with my gut and it hasn't gone well, I've always deeply regretted it. And so, again, there was something in that meeting. There was something, and I don't know what it was, but it was like, you need to go. And I said, okay, I'm going. So that's, yeah. I think that you can appreciate that. I've watched, we've got to know each other some, and I've got to enjoy your videos. And I think that you can appreciate that there's something else besides just the logic out there that you need to pay attention to.
Yeah, well, definitely your gut. And I guess intuition sometimes also kicks in, right? What you should do, but sometimes you don't do.
Yeah.
So I love the fact that you talked about being analytical, because if we only stuck that way, we would not understand. Because if we were Spock all the time,
Mhm.
there's no logic behind it, right?
Yeah.
Logic in going to get coffee. I got work to do. It doesn't allow for connections. And I think that's basically what you're really talking about, because you connected with him, even though he was a little quirky, if you say, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had the best conversations with some people who are 50 years older than me. And
Yeah.
my gosh, the value they bring if you give them the chance. And because we are talking about business, this is business prowess. And you mentioned it, having a mentor is huge. And when they're willing to pour into you, there's a difference between a mentor and a coach, right? I believe that a coach is going to charge you, but a mentor is going to invest in you.
Mhm.
And I think that's a little bit different, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the product that I met at this conference, and it was a super fun connection, and I'm flattered to be on the show. But that's the product that I made is because I realize we have folks in our lives, especially our kids, that we want to pour into, but we don't know how to pour into them. And so the Black Investing Box gives kind of a roadmap to make that happen.
Would you show it to us,
because-
please?
Yeah. This is so when I was a kid, this is called the Black Investing Box there. And I'm going to open it up and let you kind of see the inside here. We homeschooled our kids because I wanted more time to spend with them. And we were able to do that financially. And so it was a great thing. So there's kind of the box. And one of the funnest parts about that is I tried to replicate some of the stuff that Brad has poured into my life, and some other folks. And you get to a spot in life where you're like, well, Brad doesn't have the answer, or John doesn't have the answer. So you start reading books, because a book is a mentor who said, I don't know who needs to hear this, but somebody needs to hear this. And so I read a lot of books. So I've had the great privilege of both Brad, physically investing in me, but then I've had a lot of, I've made the time to let a lot of other great men speak into my life from reading a bunch of books. So if you don't have a Brad, definitely take some time to let folks speak into you.
Yeah, there's a bunch of Brads in the library, people.
Yeah. There's a bunch of Brads in the library, 100%. Yeah. And I hope to be one of them one day, but not quite yet.
Yeah. So for me, it's always, yes, reading is fun and it's mental. So it does work for your fundamentals. But when we consider how we can literally, if you buy the book, $20, maybe $30, depends on the book, and you invest that tiny little bit of money, and the amount of knowledge that you can get from that one book is, wow, it's mind-blowing. But you have to use it, right? Can't just read it and put it aside. You actually have to implement.
Yeah. So I have a rule with myself. I'm not allowed to work out unless I'm reading a book. and I'm not allowed to read a book unless I'm working out or doing dishes because I hate doing dishes. But so I listen to audiobooks all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And so an audiobook is about $14. And, if you were to meet, I don't know, Richard Branson, and you're like, hey, Richard, can we go out for coffee? Can I just pick your brain? You would happily pay for Richard's coffee, right? That's $14 at least. You'd take him out for dinner at Ruth Chris Steakhouse, right? But then folks are like, well, I don't want to read a book because it's $20, it's $25. I'm like if you could talk to Richard Branson and he had spent a month or 9 months sitting down, curating his best thoughts for you, wouldn't you pay $14 for that? Like, yeah. So, yeah.
Do you know how much it costs to have an hour with Richard Branson?
Oh, I probably multiple figures, probably 14 figures. Yeah. I don't know.
So it wouldn't be $14. It probably may be $140,000 or maybe $200,000 for $8,000 for that hour, right? So wouldn't it be wiser for all of us to invest in books? So one of the things that I've been very fortunate is that I've had so many authors on my shows, they send me their books. Now, I can just say, yeah, I collect their books. I got all their books. But I would not do any service to them if I did not read their books. So I am thrilled when someone sends me a book because not only did they take the time to write it, but they made an effort to go to the mailbox, ship it to me, and even write me a note. So can I not read their book, right? So I love it. So it's so much fun. But let's talk about why you decided to. You talked about communicating with your kids and doing all these things. You created the black box for a reason. And what was that reason?
So when I was a kid, I don't know, and I assume that most folks that are on this call right now had an envelope system, right, when you were a kid. And my parents, they were great parents. They tried to teach me what they could. But they gave me this one envelope called the save envelope. And to me as a kid, you might as well have just burnt your money. Like, I didn't understand, like, why would I not buy candy with it? I want to buy a pair of shoes. I want to go out to the movies. Why do I need to save money? I grew up in a middle-class family. So there was never like I didn't need to save for anything, really. All my needs were met. And so my dad had his own business, and he said to me, if I teach you how to manage money, then I will, then you'll always have enough. And if I don't teach you to manage money, then you'll never have enough. And so I wanted to understand, how do you manage money? And I knew it was more than just envelopes, right? Because envelopes, money comes from magically comes from somewhere else, and it comes to you. And of course, you need to decide where that goes. I love budgeting. I think it's great. The piggy bank, right? You have a piggy bank. Again, money comes magically from somewhere else, and you start. But how do you get money? How do you make money grow? Like, I know how to put money in a box. And for those of us that really
good-looking piggy bank, by the way.
It's my wife's. It's like maybe more important than me, actually. I can't. I have to be careful with it. So I want to know, how do you make money grow? Because just putting stuff in an envelope, eventually that envelope runs dry. Once you spend the money, it's gone. So how do you make it grow?
It's almost like keeping it under your mattress. It's not going to grow. It's actually going to depreciate.
Yeah. And it's actually it's going to depreciate. It's going to shrink. It'll be the same amount, but it'll have lower purchasing power. And that's a nuance that a lot of people don't understand. So I wanted my kids to, when they started, I wanted their relationship with money to be, I'm comfortable with money. I'm comfortable spending money because I can make more money, right? So I just wanted them to have that natural, and I think a lot of us, money tightens our chest because we don't have a good relationship with it. And so I wanted them to have a different relationship. So now we go back to mentoring. What drives a kid? How does a kid think about things? Well, if mom and dad think it's important, if mom and dad spend time with me, if I get praised by mom and dad, if I was going to teach you to play basketball, would I give you a spreadsheet to play basketball, or would I give you a basketball? Right? I'd give you a basketball. But the way that we go with money is we say, here's your envelopes, now don't touch it. And the kid's like, that's not a fun game. I don't want to play that game. So how do I get the kids in the game, achieving their goal, And then again, if you're teaching your kid basketball, you don't blow the whistle on them when they dribble, when they walk, right? You lower the goal, you give them a smaller ball, you give them a bigger net. So that's what this is it's a way. So I told my kids, and it kind of started out, I was exasperated. I was like, all right, I want you to learn money. I tell you what, they were about 5. I said, I will give you a quarter. I'll give you a quarter for every dollar you keep in the black investing box all week. So we did it on Sunday nights. And they were like, okay, this is a dumb game. Why are we playing this game? And so this was the first one. I had them draw a picture of their toy. So this is a Captain America shield. Oh, let's see if I can find it. Sorry.
We lost you.
Yeah, there we go. So this is a Captain America shield right here. And I said, okay, if you show me, this is what your principal is, and then if this is your interest, and then this is your new balance. And whenever your money is as tall as the Captain America shield, we'll have enough money to go buy a Captain America shield. And they were like, oh, that's super cool. So we did that at first, and so this is the new version of it. And so what I have here is you have to draw a picture, because if you're doing any sort of financial work or anything in life, you need to decide what your goal is. So you set your goal, and then you decide what you're going to do with it, and why you want to do it, and who you're going to help it. And then you plug it in over here onto the chart. And so now they have like a physical, they're touching money, they're feeling money, they're touching coins. So for a child,
but they're also seeing the progress.
And they're seeing the progress, right? So we're taking time. So as a parent, it's your job to take time and compress it down into this little tiny sliver, right? So that the kid can experience the time. So a lot of my parents, they say, oh, that's too expensive. I don't want to give 25% interest to my kid per week. And to that, I would say, go get some coffee. Like, it's like the mentor, some of the folks said, I don't want to go have coffee with you. And I said, yeah, I'm willing to invest, right? Wouldn't you, like, how much money do you spend on your kid's tennis racket or their sports equipment or their travel team? You spend a lot of money because you care that the kid gets it, right? So give them 25% interest when they're 5 years old. Buy them a couple of $20 Lego sets. Get them addicted to the idea of return on investment, and invest in their future. Yeah.
You know, I did something similar. I did not create a game of it, but what I did is I went to the bank. At the time, it was TD Bank, and they had little piggy banks. They were in the shape of a C. So I went to the bank and I said, I want to open up. First, I said, I need 8 piggy banks. I have 2 boys.
Yeah.
My youngest was, at the time, he was 3, and the other one was 6. I said, okay, I want to get these piggy banks. I brought them home and I go, guys, we're going to do arts and crafts. So they started drawing. And I said, this piggy bank is for savings. Okay. This piggy bank is for tithing. They didn't even know what the word meant. This piggy bank is for investing. They don't know. And this piggy bank is for fun. They're like, fun? Yeah. They drew all over that word, right? They did all. Yeah. And they went crazy with it. I said, you also have to make drawings for the other ones because we want to decorate these, right? But they have to look different. So they each had, and I put their names on it, they each had one. So every time, even for their birthday, they would, let's say they got $20. I said, well, you got $5 for each piggy bank. Go ahead, but you can't just put it all in the fun. You have to put it in each one. So even if you got $1, it was 25 cents in each one, just the way you're doing it. And what wound up happening a lot of times, they'll go, Dad, can we go? Remember when Toys R Us was open? My son's going to be 20 on Saturday, and my other one is 23. So they would go, Dad, can we go to Toys R Us? I'm like, yeah, let's go. And then they're like, okay. I said, what do you guys here? You know, I'm not buying you anything. They're like, we just want to look. I said, okay. So they go like, Dad, can I get this? It's only $18. I'm like, yeah, do you have it? And they're like, oh, well, I said, I'll make you a deal. I said, if you get half, I'll give you the other half.
Right.
So it was this negotiating. They were understanding money, right?
Yeah.
So my son, they got into it. My youngest one always wanted to say, take the money out of the fun one. Let's go buy stuff. Let's go buy stuff. My other one he got it and he started saving. And then at one point, I actually took them to the bank and we opened up 4 accounts for each one of them. And we labeled each account.
Yeah.
What ended up happening is every time the piggy banks got full, I go, guys, we're going to the bank. Like, we're going to the bank. Whoa, they were excited because they got to count their money and they can put it all. I said, this is how much you have in the fund. I said, you want that thing? I said, do you have enough? No. Okay, but can I take it from the savings? I said, no, that's for a rainy day. Can I take it for investing? No, that's for investing. Can I take it from tithing? I said, no. What about the people that we're going to help?
Yeah.
We're going to take away from them? Like, no. Okay, so we'll keep savings. So they understood it. My son, at the age of 20, bought himself a brand new car, paid for it cash. At the age of 20. And that was my older one. He was when he was 20. He's 23 now. And the other one just wanted to blow the money. And then
I was that other one, right? I would blow the money all the time. Yeah.
Something happened to him at the age of 16. Something triggered for him. Now he understands money, but he also blows the money on investable cars. So he bought a souped up BMW. Then he bought a second BMW. I'm like, you got 2. Now what are you going to do? Drive both BMW? Oh no, this one's for that. Okay. Now he got the he got a sports, not a Jeep, a high end,
A Land Rover?
$120,000 car. But it's an expensive one, right?
Yeah.
And I go, now you have 3 highly expensive cars. What are you doing with them? Oh, Dad, they're investments. I'm like, okay. So he's having fun with his investments because he understands that he can definitely sell them back. But he bought ones that will give him a return, but he can use them and then make money on them.
Yes. Right. And that's what I want all of our kids growing up. I want you do need to budget. You do need to put it in different.
I love the game aspect that you put behind it because it's brilliant.
So then I made this one here. Now kids need to do things physically for them to get it. And they spend too much time on the screen. So this is.
Pull it back towards you. There you go.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is an expanded version of that smaller chart that I showed. And it's called the compound interest chart. And so the kids can now, like, you ask them. So there's kind of 2 points of learning. The first point of learning is they're like, wait a minute, I got $1 last week, but I got $2 this week. Why is that? It's like, well, because you got $8 in your principal. And so now you get $2 now. So they're like, oh, and they see that curve grow. And so they get the idea of compound growth and they love it. The second moment of learning happens when you say to them, do you want to go out and buy that Lego set with your principal? And they go, yeah. And you say, well, what's going to happen next week if you spend all your money? And they go, I'll get nothing. And you're like, yeah. And then you're like, well, what if you just wait a week? And that's where that compound interest chart comes out, is I let them plan out different scenarios. And they're like marking it up and they're thinking about it. So now the kid is like playing the game. They're tinkering. I'm not saying you can't spend it. I'm just saying this is what happens if you do spend it, right? And then eventually they realize that about 4 weeks out, they're like, wait a minute. If I just waited 4 weeks, I would have enough money to get a Lego set every week in interest. Like the interest will pay for the fun. Like, yeah. And they're like, what's the catch? Because it's so crazy. It's so exciting that they're like, what's the catch? I'm like, there's no catch. That's the game. So then that's the third moment of learning. And then once they catch that vision, it breaks into all sorts of other areas of life. And so we have other little coupons in here. One of the coupons is the relationship coupon. So I don't know if you're familiar with Gary Chapman's 5 love languages, but there's like touch and quality time and words of affirmation and service and stuff. So I put those over here in kid language. Like one of them is like give somebody a hug or spend time with somebody or give them a gift. And then you're saying, okay, family, friends, community, customers, and community. So you're getting the idea that your relationships some are tight and some are more loose, and
Right.
some people like to be hugged, other people don't like to be hugged. So you have this like little frowny face to smiley face thing. And then sometimes it's easy for you, and sometimes it's hard for you. So the kids are starting to toy. First, they have to understand the idea of getting a good return and compound interest. And then you start saying, well, relationships grow that way. You spend time with relationships, they grow that way. And then the other thing that we do with them is, so after they get about $100 in principal, it stops being a quarterly report and it drops to a dime and it goes down to a nickel. So as their principal is rising, I'm reducing their interest because, again, I'm teaching them to play the real game. I cheated. I let them have the ball. I got to let them stand close to the net. I brought the net down low for them. Now they're getting good. So now I'm raising the net back up to its official height. Now I'm pushing them back to the free throw line. So this one here, they say, oh, I want some more principal. And I say, great, I'll give you a quarter for every business you do an analysis of. So this is like McDonald's. So they would draw a picture of McDonald's logo, and then they would ask questions like how many people are in line at McDonald's and how many times do those people come back and what's the average purchase price at McDonald's and how much do they make from that. And then this is classic Porter's 5. This is psychographics and demographics. So why do people go to McDonald's? Is it cheap, or does it add status to them, or So these are little business evaluation coupons. They're worth a quarter each. So the kid is now, he's thinking to gain more principal. And so there's 50 in here. For the listeners here, for the audience, I'm more than happy to do, I have a bunch of free digital downloads so you can have these coupons and put them in if you want to make your own black investing box and paint them up or do pictures of them like Sifu's kids did, then you can cut those out and you can have access to these. The other thing that we do,
how you're not just teaching about money, because I think that's a very important, and that's what I did. But we also, I had my kids buy stocks also because we did the investing. But I also, in the beginning, we bought dummy stocks. So then they had to look at it, right? So they go, oh, I lost this much because I didn't do my due diligence. I didn't understand the concept. So I love your smile there because you're like, yes, you get it. You're one of the big guys. But if we, and I love what your dad said to you, if I don't teach you how to manage money, you'll never have money. Right? You won't be able to sustain the lifestyle you may want to have. And that's one of the biggest lessons that we forget, that we need to give that to the next generation. We need to make, our country is so divided when it comes to finances. Forget politics, that's really divided. But when we talk finances, because I can drive literally from my location 10 minutes in one direction, maybe 15, and I'm going to see some not so nice neighborhoods. I drive not even 15. I drive 3 minutes in another direction, and I'm looking at multi-million-dollar homes. I drive a little bit further, and I'm talking about homes that are like worth more than 10 million, right? Forget million or 7 million. I'm talking about 15, 20, 30 million, and it's not far from me, right? But what if we all understood money like you're teaching? Wouldn't our society be truly the best place to live, which is America, which is where you and I live? And this is a land of opportunity, but guess what? We are only thinking of ourselves. Let me make the dollar. My kids will figure it out later on. And that's, I think, the biggest mistake that we make as parents.
And I think people underestimate how much the economics have changed in the U.S. I mean, I think everybody at this point has seen the average salary versus the average house price graphs. And in the 80s, the average salary could buy a house, and in today, houses are 4 times more expensive with respect to the average salary. So I think a lot of people
in Ireland, it's worse. In New York, Forget it.
Yeah.
More like 20 times.
Well, so I'm in Podunk, Kentucky. We like it. It's lots of greenery, but it's a lower population. And the globalization, my house price, like my personal house, has gone up like 75% in the last 3 years since COVID. But the salaries have not. And so it used to be that sort of inflation would happen in the big cities, but now it's kind of happened across the nation. And I'm not picking on, this is not a woe is me sort of a thing. What I'm saying is a lot of the things were given, like you used to be able to put your money in a savings account and get a decent return. You used to be able to, your salary used to buy more than it can buy today. Inflation's a big thing. Healthcare costs have risen crazy over the last 20 years. So a lot of people were a success that are like in the boomer or Gen X session. They were a success because they followed these rules that were based on the percentage rates that made sense at the time. But in 2024, the rules haven't changed, but the rates of return have changed. And so, yeah, so just save your money and put it in an envelope. Beautiful advice for the 80s, for the 90s, maybe for the 2000s, not the same advice because the rates have changed. And so if we want our kids to be a success, and a lot of those houses that you're talking about are because the people that own those houses think about rates of return, not savings, right? We should save, but we should save so that we can get a better rate of return. And we should spend our time learning what gives us good rates of return and invest in that. So yeah, things have changed. And I want our kids, and by our, I mean our collective kids, to understand that so that they have a better relationship with money than I started out with.
I mean, that's why I took my kids to the bank, because if they would have just put it in their piggy bank, they would have gone, oh, okay, it's in my piggy bank. I got the same amount. But then when they had I got them passbooks. So every time we went to the passbook, they would I would have them, I didn't do it. I would have them interact with the teller and give them not only the money, but the book. And then they would look and see, oh, I got this much more. I got interest. Well, the interest now it's like I think it's negative pennies now, but back then,
things changed, right?
Oh, yeah. Huge. But back then they were like, oh, I got interest on it. This is great. And now they understood why we went to the bank, and they were like, Dad, are we going to the bank? I said, well, I don't know. How much money you have in your bank account or in your piggy bank, right? They both come back to the name bank, right? So bank really, for me, it means a place to put your money, but it's changed over time. And you were about to talk about that, how the return on your investment in a bank is not the same anymore.
Yeah, it used to be 5%, right? And now it's 0.05%. But inflation used to be at probably 2 or 3%, and inflation is now at 12%. I won't belabor that, but yeah, I mean, our personal home grocery budget is almost doubled. And it's not just because I have some teenage boys, right? It's because the things are more expensive than they used to be. So one of the other things, though, is I don't want my kids to grow up seeing life as a series of chores, and I don't want them to see life as a bunch of work. I want them to see instead, and this one is I don't know, trying to get it close without making it. It's called the opportunity contract.
Nice.
So we don't really have, besides dishes, because there's just so many dishes with a 6-person family that you have, that's a chore. But besides dishes and laundry, we don't have any other assignments in the house that are given. Because the kids want money, they need to go find an opportunity and then come negotiate it with me. And so in the opportunity contract, there's parties, who's doing it, there's what type of a contract it is, there's scope, and then there's terms, and there's period of performance, and we're negotiating the end value of it. So I'm just getting them used to the idea that you can go find an opportunity, you can go you can negotiate for a rate, and then it's not yours until you do the work. So you have to make a plan, you have to do the work according to what your customer wants, and then you can reap the reward. So these are actually generally worth quite a bit. Oftentimes, the opportunity contract is I'll give my kids a book. Like during the summers, you have Think and Grow Rich, The Richest Man in Babylon, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Atomic Habits, Extreme Ownership. There's about 10 books. And I told my kids, I'll give you $20 for every book that you read. And so there's just standing opportunities. At any point, you want some cash, go read a book. And one of my sons figured out
a book report a little bit.
Yeah, they have to dialogue with me to make sure that one of my kids though, he goes, wait a minute, you already have these books on your Audible account, right, Dad? I was like, yeah. He was like, if I just read it on Audible, does that count? And I was like, okay, you have to read it while you listen to it, and we have to pass the book report. But yeah, you can do that. And if I don't have it on Audible already, you can spend the $14 to get it, which means you're only gonna get $6 for reading the book because it's 20 minus 14. And he's like, yeah, but I could get it done in an afternoon. Deal. Actually, bet. He said bet. That's the new word. He's like, bet.
Love it. You know, when you consider one of the things that I got an advice for very long ago when my kids were little, it was give your kids an allowance.
Yeah.
Give them an allowance for no reason. And then I started that with my kids, and I go, you give them a quarter based on their age. So if you're 3 years old, you're getting 75 cents a week.
Okay.
Nothing, for doing nothing. Like, Dad, I'm like, yeah, here you go. And they're like, all of a sudden they're like, hey, Dad, you just gave me 75 cents, but you know, that magazine or that whatever I want to get is $1.50. I'm like, oh, so you need more money. Yeah. I said, oh, you can save it or you can do something for it. So I gave them, I said, you can take out the garbage. That's a quarter. You can do this. You can do that. So basically what you did, but I didn't have the contract like you do. I love the contract. And when you say contract, it made me think of the Big Bang Theory with Sheldon. His
roommate contract, which is like that thick. Yeah,
I love it. Love it. But your contracts are a lot more fun than his, I'm sure. But when you consider that not only you're teaching them, I got to tell you, I'm loving what you're doing, because not only are you teaching them how to save money, you're teaching them how to look for opportunities and even how to write maybe a proposal, right? You're teaching them. I got to tell you, Drew, you're a freaking genius, kid. I love it. I love it. And let me ask you a question.
Yeah, man.
Why the Black Investing Box? What made you come up with that name?
Well, I'm a dad, and I love dad jokes. Like if it's corny, I'm in. It's so there's an idea in software development called the black box, and it's just you have arrows going through a flow diagram. It's like, oh, this works. Black magic box, and then which solves the thing. Whatever, this magic box converts all of your contacts into your CRM. I don't know how it works. It's just magic black box. In entrepreneur land. There's this guy, I need to find the name of it, but there's this guy, and he had a magic box that could do all sorts of calculations, and it could read and write. And this was like in 1920. And people were amazed by this box. As it turns out, it was a small person in the box.
Really?
So he just had a big wooden box, and there was just a small person in the box, and you would feed paper in, and he would read it, and he'd do the math, and he'd put the paper back out. And there's like some cranks that he would turn to make some sound. So when people start a business, because I did corporate America for a long time, so I really appreciate big business professionalism. But then I also grew up in a small, my dad owned his own small business, and then I coach startups, and I've started some things myself. So I live in this weird world where I love professionalism, but I also love the startup passion and the small business practicality. So I wanted something, and I love corny jokes. So I wanted to make. You got to realize these were my kids. They were 5 when I did this with them. And I was like, oh, it's a black box. Because to me, that's hilarious because it's a software concept. And then it's the quarterly report, which in business, you're going to have quarterly reports every quarter. But now it's a quarter because, so that's why I named it. I wanted them to get the idea that, oh, you can put your money in a magic investing vehicle and it will give you a return. And then as they grew, I was like, well, that magic investing vehicle is called stocks and bonds. And let's go talk to. So one of my sons, he turned 9 and he goes, Dad, I want to buy some stock for my birthday. And I was like, I'm not buying you stock for your birthday because your brother is getting a Nerf gun. And when you're 20, you're going to hate me. Right. Like I can't just, but he wouldn't let it go. And so I took him to my financial planner. His name is Quint. And Quint was a champ. Quint, I sat in the other room and Quint treated him like he was a client. And he just like, well, tell me what your investing profile looks like. Tell me the stocks you're interested. Like Quint just fired on him. And that's really where that, the business thinking pad is
Nice.
Quint had my son do something like that. He actually kept himself a stock portfolio. Like we literally got him a portfolio, like a folder. And every day he had to track 6 stocks that he chose. And Quint had done that when he was young. And it fundamentally shifts you when you start seeing McDonald's not as a hamburger and ice cream place, but rather as a company. And you see Amazon and you see eBay, and it changes how you see the world. And so your question was why the black box? Because I think it's silly and fun. And yeah, that's why.
I love it. I love it. I think that what you're doing, and I think more people, more parents have to understand the value that you're bringing with your black box. And I love the black box investing, the black investing box.
Yeah.
Because it lets parents know that, listen, I can leave my inheritance to my kids. But what if they blow it with me? Then
And they
I
will.
left nothing. I literally left. And how many people have done that? They've taken their inheritance and blew it within a year. And then what do they have? Nothing. And what did their parents work all their lives to leave their kids? A year's worth of fun. Is that really what you want to leave your kids? Or do you want to leave your kids with knowledge so that they can have an amazing, and they can do it for their kids and their kids? So this is the legacy I think that you are creating, and it's a beautiful thing. And if there's any way I can be of help, I definitely want to do that. And I think that you and I can talk off camera, but I think that we may be able to have your block box here, because I have tons of parents that come to me.
Yeah.
And if we have a sample box and people go, what is that? I'm going to go, well, you got to watch the show. Right?
Yeah.
Then learn how you can invest in your children's future today. Don't wait 20 years from now, right?
Yeah. I know that we're running out of time. Let me pitch these last 2 ones really quick to you, because I think you'll like these actually maybe the best. This is called the Definite Major Purpose Coupon. And so every week my kids have to do a definite major purpose. Now, a definite major purpose is something that takes longer than a day to accomplish. So they draw a picture of what they're going to do. This is like 5, 6, 7-year-olds, right? And then they have to, there's 4 days here. They have to figure out what they're going to do each day for generally more than an hour as they work through the process of accomplishing their definite major purpose for the week. So like my daughter did one. She said, I want to have a cake decorating party with my best friend, Anna. And then, so I talked to her on Wednesday and I said, how's it going? She says, oh, mom said no. And I said, is it a definite major purpose, or is it if mom says no major purpose? And she goes, but mom said no. And for a kid, that's a big thing, right? And I said, well, why did mom say no? Let's go talk to mom and figure out the objections. Let's make a plan around it, because the purpose here is for you to accomplish your objective no matter what. So we found out mom doesn't want to mess in her house. So instead we had a cupcake party at the park with Anna. So that Sunday night we had the Black Investing Box, and I said, okay, let's talk through the week. So experiences don't create wisdom. Processing your experiences makes wisdom, right? So I said, okay, what happened? And then what are you going to do about it next time? And she said, well, even if mom says no, it doesn't necessarily mean no. You can find a way around it. So I wrote it up. I gave her $2 for that lesson. And then this is what we end up keeping in the piggy bank, is her lessons learned.
Nice.
Yeah. And so you're talking about leaving a legacy for your kids. The Black Investing Box starts out as a little bit of a money sink, and the kids, like, they say, oh, this is cool. but it becomes a weekly ritual where you spend 30 minutes with your kid planning for next week, reviewing the last week's efforts, figuring out the opportunities they want to go do. And it's all tied in with money and growth and relationships. It's like it becomes a core conversation roadmap, really. And that's what I love about it is I made it so that we want to mentor our kids. The kid is now running. It's Sunday night, Dad. It's Sunday night. They run, they grab the box, they bring the box back to you. They think they're getting money. You're paying them $20 to sit and have a life dialogue. And you're setting a pattern that, like, my teenagers don't really do this anymore. They have their own jobs, they have their own money. They had enough money saved up. They bought a lawnmower. So their life is past the black investing box. But that relationship of open dialogue and planning and wisdom and reflection, that's all still there. So yeah, I would love to work with, I will send you some of these boxes, and I would love to get some discounts and make sure that your kids have access to it.
Yeah, that'd be amazing. That'd be amazing. So what an incredible journey you're on. And you basically did it just for your kids, but then you realize, wait a minute, this can help other people. It can help not only my community, but it can help people across the world, if you will. Because who says that somebody in the UK can't do this with their kid, or somebody in Australia or in Africa, wherever it is in the world, this can be done with their currency. So I love what you're doing. I love your mission. I suggest don't stop. Don't stop. It's a great mission. I'm loving it.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. Thanks for the encouragement and the opportunity to get on here. And for those that are watching this today or watching this in the future, send me a note on the drew@theblackInvestingbox.com, or go onto the site. Tell me that you watched Sifu's show. I'll put a discount code on there. It'll probably be Sifu, and we'll get you a discount on the boxes. But do this with your kids. If money's an issue, give me an email. It doesn't need to be an issue, right? I want you and your kids to have this sort of experience.
Beautiful, beautiful. I love it. I love it. Well, what can I say, Drew? I'm so happy that you and I connected. I mean, it was a great connection. We did spend a little bit of time, and I think we didn't spend enough time together, because I'm loving our conversation now, and I know that I want you on my other shows as well. So come on down, my friend, and let's keep making the world a little bit brighter, right?
Yeah, maybe I'll find an excuse to come up to New York and see you.
Ooh, I love it. I love it. All right, Drew, hang on for a minute. Everybody else, thank you so much for being here with us. Dr. Andre will be next week. I look forward to seeing and hearing from you guys. Take care. Talk to you soon.